Hey there everyone, and welcome back to another Game Vault video. As always, I'm Captain Beefy with the Game Vault. We're going to talk about Sweet Baby Inc. tonight, Kim Belair, and just this whole garbage movement of wokeism that is literally dying on the vine as we're watching. Every day it seems like there's another kick against this kind of stuff. Another company, another game goes under, or another company reports losses, or another studio shuts down or has to downsize, something like that. And it's not just in the gaming industry itself, it's also out there in the real world, with big companies all over the place turning their back on diversity, equity, and inclusion because they realize it's nothing more than a money grabbing scam. And people like this scumbag on the screen here, Kim Belair, have capitalized on it. And it's my goal to help raise awareness on her, because there's a lot of people talking about her, that enough people realize what she's doing, that she is drummed out of this industry 100%, and everybody who works with her is destroyed, and these tourists are removed from gaming completely. They can go do their thing somewhere else. I don't care. Well, let's cue the music, and we're going to talk about this. So a few months ago, the Sweet Baby Inc. Detected curated list came out on Steam, and everybody lost their mind. Oh my god, it's targeted harassment, it's this or that. No, it's basically a curated list of games that this piece of garbage company worked on. And the reason these were pointed out was because this company is a consulting company, right? And Kim Belair's a piece of crap, and it's all about pushing and forcing diversity into places where you don't need it. And not for the sake of the game or the story or to improve anything. It's just to put it in there. A lot of people will call it, wokeifying games, making games woke, whatever. I use that phrase a lot too. It's a very common term, but, there's nothing woke about it. It's destroying games. It's cancerous. It's a cancerous thing. And it goes beyond what you see on the screen, okay? It goes way beyond that because these companies push for hiring practices that focus on hiring people based on the color of their skin, their sex, their sexual identity or whatever, just things like that, as opposed to merit-based hiring completely on, what they've done, their skill set and their experience and all that. So that's why we have so many games out there. DEI goes way beyond the crap you see on the screen. It goes way beyond those ugly characters that Concord tried to put out there and thought people would spend $40 to play as, and they realized, whoa, nobody's playing this garbage, right? It's more than that. It's the idiots that designed this game and put it out there and thought it was a good thing and thought it would make money because they live in this little bubble where they're all just, I could just see them. Oh yes, this is great. This is going to be perfect. This is going to be so big. It's going to beat Overwatch. It's going to beat everything. Yeah, it sucked ass. It lasted 14 days, I think, and then it's gone. What an embarrassment, man. What an embarrassment. I can't wait to see that studio shit canned. But let's read this article a little bit here. Sweet Baby Inc. CEO Kim Belair continued to trot out the victim card. Of course, because, she's a black woman. That is a very common thing for black women to use in any situation as a victim card, unfortunately. A lot of people use that, whether they're black, white, male, female, gay, straight, neurodivergent, whatever. Everybody loves to play the victim. It's so stupid. As a man, it is my duty to protect those that are weaker. Okay? Whether my friends, family, whatever. It is my duty to be that rock for them. Okay? Not to show signs of weakness, not to show signs of victimhood and all that kind of stuff. And I do that. I don't want to see people I love and care about victimized. And I don't want to see random people victimized either. Kids on the street, if I'm, I don't want to see that stuff. I don't want to see a guy beating up his woman at the bar or, that kind of stuff. You don't want to see that stuff in real life. You want to put a stop to it because that's what you do as a man. You are a protector. But People that make themselves into victims, I can't stand those people. Those people disgust me because being a victim in that situation is a choice, right? Kim Belair, you are a victim by choice. This is what you choose to do on a daily basis, is play a victim when you're making money hand over foot and you're better off than so many other people. Doesn't matter what color they are, what color you are. You are doing well enough for yourself. So go fuck yourself, Kim Belair, okay? You're not a victim. In an interview with Black Girl Gamers on YouTube, they blocked me on Twitter because I made fun of them, Belair said, I think of us almost as patient zero of this wave of Gamergate. Okay, here's another thing. They always like to make things about themselves. When I think of it, where it started, it was kind of the week that we had announced that we were on both Alan Wake 2 and Spider-Man 2, which are two, I think, popular games among the game community and players in general. Those were also two games I was highly interested in until I heard what you guys did to them. And then I took them off my list, and I still don't own them. I don't want to play Alan Wake 2, and I don't want to play Spider-Man 2, unfortunately. It looked cool as hell. Alan Wake 2 sounded like a great idea, and then I saw what you guys did to it, and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not interested anymore. So, congratulations. You guys did great. Anyway, she continued immediately. I think the targeting began with this kind of like, we found the secret, sinister website from Sweet Baby Inc. Meanwhile, we're on Twitter like, she doesn't even make sense when she talks. She sounds like a dimwit. I'm just so excited to let people know that we worked on these two really great games. Well, guess what? Alan Wake still hasn't made its money back, and Spider-Man 2, of course, did fantastic, but, you know, it would have done so much better had you guys not touched it. Anyway, and the assumption was essentially made that our work on that had not been story or narrative or character related. It had been to make a black character exist in Alan Wake 2 and to put pride flags in Spider-Man 2. And that was kind of like the assumption that we had wokeified the video games, Belair added. Well, let's face it, we did put a black female character in Alan Wake 2, and you're made to play that character as part of the main story. That seems like the game is not called Alan Wake and some black lady. It's called Alan Wake 2. It should be his story and his story alone. And I know I haven't played it, and you can sit there in the comments and say, well, it did this and it did that. Carry water for it all you want. I really don't give a shit. I don't want to play it because of that. I saw that and I'm like, well, now you've taken time away from the main character, a character I grew to really love and appreciate from the first Alan Wake. Now you're just taking time away from him and you're giving it to this other person. For what reason? I can't think of a valid reason to do that, you know, other than we want to have that strong black female character lead. And that's just the way it goes, guys, and it's so stupid, you know? And Spider-Man 2, I heard about the pride flags around New York City. I don't want to see that shit. If you want to put it in a game, put it in there as an option. Have a little checkbox that says, you know, allow LGBT stuff in a game. And let that stuff appear, but otherwise make it default American flags or the flags that you normally see in New York City, you know, the state flag, whatever. I don't care. Anything but the pride flags. I'm so sick of those things. You know, and everybody's sick of them. It's not just me. The world is tired of being bullied by such a small group of loud, obnoxious assholes. And when I talk about that, I'm not talking about gay people in general. I work with plenty. I know plenty. They're cool, but they're not a part of this movement. They don't participate in this garbage movement that Hollywood seems to embrace, and the politicians and the gaming community and all that. And it's annoying. You know, most of these people just want to live, they're like me, they want to live their life and be left alone. They don't want to be celebrated. They just want to live. That's what we all want. We don't want to be, you know, I just want to live. I want to live my life on my own terms. I want to work. I want to earn my money. I want to spend it how I want to spend it. Enjoy my time with my family and the people I care about. And that's it. And when I buy something, I want to buy it. I don't want it to be tainted with wokeness or DEI or whatever you want to call it at this time. So anyway, yeah, they became the shorthand for the wokeification of gaming. Belair made it abundantly clear that her entire goal and her company's goal was to wokeify gaming back in 2019. I remember this, she said, none of what we're doing is about ticking boxes or about a veneer of wokeness. We actually have to care about making this stuff. In fact, during that presentation, Belair made it clear that she would weaponize cancel culture to achieve her goals. And here we go. Here's the famous quote that we've all seen. If you're creative working in AAA, which I did for many years, put this stuff up to your higher-ups. If they don't see the value and what you're asking for when you ask for consultants, when you ask for research, go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them with the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want. Because they have to consider, and I say that out loud as a joke, but it's actually very, very true, because if you start to consider the people who are player and audience facing, and you have to deal with mitigating harm and with keeping the sentiment around their game and their project positive, there's like a genuine value that you could impress upon them both ethically and financially. You could say this is important, she said. Belair elaborated, it's also a valid discussion to have, because if you're working with a thin narrative budget and you work in AAA, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised or dismayed by the amount of money that marketing can give you. Well, let's talk about, so there's a big stink over Alan Wake having that character in it and having that character share time as the lead character, as a playable, the protagonist of the story, right? A lot of backlash, and the game didn't make its budget back, and here we are well over a year after it came out. It still hasn't made its budget back, last I heard, so yikes. Not doing too well there, right? And we all saw what the I think it was the game director or something, or no, it was a community manager, talked about the other day, and how what her thoughts were and all that. It's like, well, you're just garbage people. You're not going to make the money. But what kind of discussion would have surrounded Alan Wake 2 had that character not been in there? Had the game stuck to Alan Wake as the main character, made it his story and his story exclusively, and went with that? Would there be any discussion at all about the game other than the game was good or the game was bad, the gameplay and all that? Would people have been like, well, no, man, the only thing that was pretty good, but they should have took some time away from him and put in a strong black woman to play as for a little while, because that would have elevated this game to the next level, man. It was just, that was the missing ingredient that took it from a 7 to a 10. That would have made it into Game of the Year material. No, nobody would have had this discussion, okay? Nobody. Just like if the pride flags weren't in Spider-Man, nobody would have had that discussion. Maybe you would have had some crybaby, or cry bullies, I should call them, on the internet. These cry bullies that cry and then try to cancel everybody when they don't get their ways, going, there wasn't any representation. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Whatever, man. Don't buy the game. That's what you guys say to us, right? You put out a piece of crap trailer like for the new Minecraft movie, and you're like, well, this movie's not made for you. Well, I can obviously see that from the trailer alone. So when I don't go see it, I don't want articles pointing finger at me going, it's my fault that the movie failed because I didn't go see it, because you made a movie that was so unappealing to me that I never wanted to see it. And that's what you're doing with games. And that's why when these games fail and everybody gets all butthurt and starts crying about it, don't. Just accept it. Say, well, maybe we should have catered to that group of people a little bit more. I don't know. Anyway, this would not be the only time Kim would express such aims. In an interview with Inclusion FX, she said she wanted to take over the video game industry. Sorry, bitch, you're just a tourist in this industry. You'll be forgotten in 5 years. She said, today what we do is writing, narrative design, story building, story breaking as our first and foremost, but on a secondary level, we work very hard to get marginalized talent into the industry, to protect them the way that we want to have been protected, to lift them up and to get them into an industry where they're often shut out. Marginalized talent. Marginalized people. Maybe they don't have the talent. We saw what Dustborn did, right? That was a piece of crap game made by a bunch of activists. Absolute garbage. Were those the kind of people you're talking about? Is that your marginalized talent? Because the game never topped 100 players concurrently on Steam. Are you talking about the Concord type games? Is that your marginalized talent there? Because they never broke 1,000 on a 5v5 shooter, and they shut down after 2 weeks, and without question, Sony is offering to return everybody their money that they spent on it. They pulled it from the shop yesterday, and they're just quietly shutting the door on it going, yeah, that never happened. Is that your marginalized talent, Kim? If so, get him out of there. You're wasting a lot of money for a lot of people, you're wasting a lot of people's times, and you're putting out a lot of mediocre and crappy games that are just taking up space, man. We should have a lot less games coming out every year, and it would just be better. Maybe if we focused on that, it would be a better community altogether. I don't know. But Belair then admitted, and basically I think to take over in the hopes that some really dope people will be able to lead into a kind of a new era for an industry that's been kind of, the same way too long. Well, what's the same way? White, successful, financially, lucrative. I mean, what do you want to talk about there, Kim? You just want to destroy it. And that's the problem here. People like Kim Belair don't create, they destroy. Okay, they take things that exist, they try to deconstruct it and then rebuild it in a way that fits what they expect from it and what they want from it. It never works. It never works. We hear about it all the time. Well, we're just updating this game for the modern community or for the modern audience. And as soon as you hear that, you know the game's going to be garbage. And that's like the kiss of death now. Okay? So if anyone out there ever talks to somebody from marketing for any of these gaming companies or whatever, tell them to take the words modern audience out of their mouth. Or we're going to send Will Smith up to them and say, get those words out of your mouth. Nobody wants to hear about the modern audience because the modern audience does not exist. We just proved that beyond a shadow of a doubt these last couple weeks with the release of Black Myth Wukong, which was highly protested by the mainstream gaming media and a lot of people in gaming and all that, talking about how it's going to be bad because it's sexist and yada yada. Sweet Baby Inc. tried to force them to pay them $7 million to go in there and make the game worse than it is. And it's a great game, but they wanted to go in and poison that game. And I don't know what they would have done. Made the monkeys gay? I don't know. I mean, they would have done something stupid, though. And it would have stuck out like a sore thumb. And just like, again, I'll bring this up time and time again. God of War Ragnarok. I love the game. The character Angerboda. A Norse, a Jotun, right? A frost giant. Black. A black girl, okay? Fantastic actress. I will not take that away from her for 1 second. I thought she did a fantastic job. I love her to death. I think she played that character well. But why couldn't they have made the Jotun look like a Jotun should look, right? And that's what I'm talking about. Those kind of things. It might seem small. It might seem like a minor thing and all that. But when you see it all the time in game after game after game, it becomes a pattern. And it becomes something that you recognize, and you start to look for it, and it becomes a distraction, and you just end up detesting it in the end. You're like, I'm just tired of this. Why is it every time? Why? Oh, it's frustrating. But anyway, Sweet Baby Inc.'s website makes it very clear what their company's goals are. It says, our mission is to tell better, more empathetic stories while diversifying and enriching the video game industry. We aim to make games more engaging, more fun, more meaningful, and more inclusive for everyone. Well, all you've done is maybe made it more inclusive for some people, but you're actually driving a wedge between people with what you do there. And you're creating bad blood where people are, what you've done now is you've poisoned gaming so bad that somebody could be working on a game and that main character is a black woman. And she's not a black woman for the sake of diversity, but because that is the story that's being told. And it makes sense, and that's her story, and it's supposed to be her story. And a lot of people are going to see that game and immediately assume that it's a black woman just for the sake of diversity, and they're going to write it off right away. This is the work you've done, Kim Belair. You've destroyed what you try to create. You have. If a character looks halfway weird, like, oh, God, look, there's another trans person, there's another this, there's another that. This is what you've done. You've got it to a point where everybody's so wary and so on edge looking for this crap that they're going to find it. And you're going to destroy some really good games that don't deserve to be destroyed. And maybe that they would have had some natural diversity in there. Because there's nothing wrong with natural diversity, right? Nothing wrong with a cast that feels real and feels like it could be an existing thing. It's like, okay, that would work. I talk about the GTA 6 coming out, right? That's being set in Liberty City, which is Miami, pretty much. And we're gonna see some LGBT stuff in there. I guarantee it. But I've been to Miami a million times. I grew up on the east coast of Florida, and you see that there anyway. So that is not a forced diversity there. That would just be natural, as well as seeing a diverse cast of characters from the islands. Haiti, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, Cuba, South America, Central America, Europeans as well. Miami is just a melting pot, much like New York City, but it's got slightly different ingredients because of its location. And it will feel 100% natural. It's not going to feel forced and stupid because of that. That's how you do diversity. You do natural diversity. If they made GTA 7 with only a white cast, that would feel funky. I'd be like, no, this doesn't feel right. Now it just feels whitewashed. That's just as bad as forced diversity, as forcing the other direction on it. So, I wouldn't support that either. But anyway, despite all this, Belair attempted to gaslight viewers of the Black Girl Gamers YouTube channel by offering her own definition of what it means to WFY Gaming. She said it's the greater movement right towards a lot of far right thinking and a lot of, very regressive material that's just kind of just being pushed out across a lot of different, or at least a lot of the audiences of a lot of different industries are currently kind of talking about that. And obviously the political landscape has kind of led to a lot of this. Wow, Kim, you sound like a complete and utter retard when you talk. I'm sorry, that's terrible. A lot and kind of, and a lot and kind of. And that's all I hear when I hear you talk. It's word salad. People like her, they can't put a thought, they can't string thoughts together into sentences that make any kind of sense. Absolutely ridiculous. And here we go, let's go on. I think for a lot of people, it really comes down to they see a change that they themselves did not expect. Belair posited. They see a change they can't fathom that their beloved companies or their beloved teams would ever make themselves, so they kind of assume that anyone who comes in who looks like myself or other members of my team are the interlopers. Our job can only be tied to our identity. Well, that's what you talk about is your identity. That's your whole point. And yes, you are an interloper. You're a tourist in this industry, Kim. You need to leave. You need to leave now. It's time for you to go and take your whole team with you. You're garbage people. You don't belong here. You don't bring anything positive to the industry. All you do is ruin things. I mean, get that through your head. Anyway, Belair then attempted to address what she sees as misinformation about her company, despite her repeated statements about what her company does. Here we go. Speaking of misinformation, I think the biggest thing for us during this campaign is that I would say that any kind of sensitivity work or consulting work in cultural consultation probably represents about 15% of our work, where the vast majority of it is actually writing, narrative design, joining writing teams, helping support writing teams, sometimes being the entire writing team for a project, or helping with mission design. But the part that really, really, really gets everyone assuming that we can't possibly do other work because all we are is, DEI. Well, that's what you advertise, man. That's what you call out from the mountain, DEI. So, yeah, I don't believe any of the other stuff. I think you're lying. We became labeled as this DEI company when the facts of the way that we work is that someone calls in and says, hey, we made a bunch of choices. We'd love for you to either help write, help look at them, help talk to us, or even sometimes our cultural consultation is a specific, it's job consultation. We had to hire a meteorologist at one point to do a consult on a project. And I think that the idea of authenticity for people, if you say we hired a lawyer because we have to, write about lawyers, no one would ever bat an eye. But they can't imagine that you'd want to bring in someone from a specific background or country or experience to talk about this. And I think there's this idea that, if a game company is reaching out to external, that's because they're missing something or they can't handle something, and not because, in the very real world of creation across many different media, people talk to each other, people have writers' rooms, directors and writers of huge movies to each other's houses and talk and, do push-ups and other scripts. And that's kind of, how creativity works. But this is what it's become, she concluded. But that's not what you said earlier. You said, where is it here? Yeah, more. Anyway, get marginalized talent into the industry. Scare the marketing team. These are the things you said. Anyway, we'll go ahead and let you read the rest of this on your own. I'll link to it down below. But let me know what you think about Kim Belair and this whole Sweet Baby Inc. thing. If you're excited to see this die on the vine as I am, I'm hoping it does. I think her time is coming. I think we're going to see this company is going to become a pariah. We're going to get to a point where they're going to start showing up and people are going to be like, no, I don't want any association with you. I saw what you did to this game. I saw what you did to that company. Everything you touch turns to garbage. You're like the opposite of Midas. Please leave. Don't call. Don't ever come back. And I don't want to hear it, And that's the goal. That's what needs to happen for gaming to start to get back on track and get better again. Get rid of the tourists and just keep the people that want to make good games in there, All the ideologues, all the people that just want to make statements and, impose their will on everybody, fire them all. Get rid of them all. Have a huge purge. bring in fresh talent, keep the good talent, keep the ones that don't want to make a statement, they want to make a game, and start over. There will be success. We'll give you our money. I can guarantee you that. Anyway, let me know what you think down below in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, peace.